Yeah.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Ala's World of Finance. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. So today we're going to be doing a quick Q&A video for the channel where I'm going to be responding to your guys' questions. And I'm sorry, I meant to post this on Sunday, but there's been some construction and it's been a hectic week, so we're going to go ahead and do this today. And I just want to give a quick disclaimer. All of this is just my opinion, and it's not meant to be taken as literal advice on what to do. Just take it as my opinion. Now, some of these questions address certain stocks, and I'm not going to explain what every stock does, what every stock is involved in, and what their company does, because it would just make the video really long. So if you want to know what a particular stock or a company does, then go ahead and just look up their ticker symbol on whatever platform you use, and the company description should pop right up, and then you should be able to see everything that they do. But when you ask the question about a certain stock, I'm assuming that you know what the stock is, and so that's kind of how I'm going to be answering the questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So first question here from Brendan M, and he says, what do you think AMD stock price will be at by the end of the year? I have a $15 price target. Okay, so AMD I'm going to talk more about in the 3 stocks I'm investing in for September video, but in my opinion, I still kind of hold that $20 price target. I feel like they should be at $20 by the end of the year going into next year. Now, there are some exceptions to that. Now, we know that in their last earnings, they actually had great earnings and they had great guidance and everything like that. Everything that we were looking for, they had in the last earnings. And their stock shot up as it should, but then it went right back down and they've been struggling ever since. So I really feel like there's a strong resistance there at around $15 or $16. Now, for them to break that resistance and get closer to my price target of around $20, I feel like they need to have strong earnings in the next couple quarters, like quarter 3, quarter 4. I feel like they need to have strong earnings there, and if they can do that, then I think that they will be able to break those resistance levels. Now, I understand that a lot of people are very bearish on AMD, and I understand that the stock is very highly shorted. But keep in mind that when a stock is shorted so much, the higher the short, the more upside potential there is for the stock, because those investors have to buy back that stock later, right? If the stock is doing well. So just keep that in mind. The bigger the short, the more upside potential. But we'll have to wait and see. Okay, that's just kind of my opinion on it. So, all right, next question here. Let's see here. So we have a question from Therm Graphics, and they say, "Hey Ale, I'm 15 and am very interested in investing in the stock market. Any advice for someone starting out at an early age?" Sure. So obviously you're not 18, right? So whenever you do start investing in the stock market at a legal age, I would say that you are going to have a major advantage over a lot of other investors in that you're starting very young and you have a lot of time on your side. Now, having said that, if I was to start all over again and I was to start at a young age, I started investing young, but not as young as you. Now, I think it's very important that you're already looking at stock market videos and channels and researching the subject matter. And so that kind of tells me that you're probably going to be successful, in my opinion. But now what I would do is I would invest in stocks that I understand, products that maybe I use, a market that I typically understand. For example, I like to invest in video game stocks because I like to play video games. I'm also into sports and nutrition and things like that. So that's kind of the markets that I understand a little more. So I would invest in those kind of companies. I would also invest in very safe companies, big companies that are safe, that are not likely to go bankrupt. And I would take a long-term investing approach with money that I don't need, because if you're like around 18 or something, you're probably either going into college or maybe you're moving out of your parents' house, maybe you're buying a car, maybe you're leasing a car. The point is that you're gonna have a lot of expenses. And so if you're gonna have a lot of expenses, then that means that you're gonna need a lot of your money. So if you invest in a stock and that stock goes down and you need that money, you're gonna have to sell it at a loss. Now, the key here is that you have time on your side. So you want to be able to leave that money in the stock for a long amount of time. You don't want to be making little quick plays, especially if you're an amateur, right? You might not even know that much about investing because you haven't had a lot of experience in it. So I would only invest with money that you don't readily need, right? So if you have a job or whatever and you have some extra income at the end of the day, instead of blowing it on something kind of dumb, I'm not saying don't have fun. Obviously you need to live your life, but instead of or maybe I should say this, instead of putting it into a savings account or checking account that you're going to save for a long time, instead of that, I would probably just put it into stocks that I really believe in. And so say you invested in, I don't know, Amazon, and say Amazon dropped a little bit in the short term. Well, it doesn't really matter because you have so much time on your side. Imagine what those stocks are going to be at many years from now, right? So it takes many years, but that stock is going to be worth a lot more. Excuse me. So that's the approach that I would take. I would take a long-term approach with money that I don't need in big companies that I trust, that are relatively safe investments. I hope I'm not forgetting anything, but that's kind of the approach that I would take. So anyway, that's that question. Next up, this is from Hooky Bricks Hooky, one of my favorite subscribers here. They always leave a lot of nice comments. And they said, glad to see you back, and they talk a little bit about Snapchat, and then they say, I have a question for Sunday's video. They say, do you think that the market crashes in case Donald Trump gets his impeachment? Okay, so all political views aside, okay, no political views in this, I don't think he's going to be impeached. That's just my opinion. Regardless of political views, I don't think it's going to happen. So because of that, I don't really care that much. I'm not really focused on that. Now, I do remember that there was a specific day where liberals called for Trump to be impeached, and the markets reacted, and like stocks were red across the board, and I had a bunch of people texting me, hey, what's going on? Like, all my stocks are down, and I ended up making a video on that, and it was like quite a while back. However, the next day, all the stocks rebounded, and everything was fine again. And so that's kind of how I see it. Like, I wouldn't panic if there were, if a lot of people were assuming that he's going to be impeached or something like that. I wouldn't really panic. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's just my opinion. It's not something that I'm focusing on, just to give you my opinion on it. Okay, next up here we have a question from another really cool subscriber. This is Caleb Chan, and they say, nice video. Can you make an analysis on Applied Optoelectronics? Ticker symbol is AAOI. Okay, so Applied Optoelectronics is a stock that I get requested all the time, and I'm not an expert on them, definitely not an expert, but I do track them because it gets requested a lot, and I hope to be making a video on them soon. Now, when looking at AOI, their last earnings, they actually, in my opinion, they actually had really good earnings, but they provided poor guidance, and so that kind of hurt them, and their stock suffered a little bit. But when looking at their last earnings here, EPS was estimated at $1.32. They reported $1.54, so good. And then revenue was up 112% year over year. Fantastic. Another thing is that their equipment is in high demand, at least I feel, because their equipment is used a lot by AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and they've been upgrading their networks. In fact, look at T-Mobile. T-Mobile spent, it was around $8 billion recently to upgrade their network. And you're also seeing more demand for the type of equipment that AOI provide. They do a lot of like fiber optics and transceivers and stuff like that, but there is also a lot of demand for their type of equipment from the cloud computing market. And we know how that's kind of just taking off right now. So I don't see demand slowing down. I see demand kind of ramping up. And so I see AOI being a big player in that. And so for that reason, I'm bullish on them, but I don't know enough about them to invest in them yet. Okay, next question here. DC Acres asks, how about a stock review for Universal Display? Ticker symbol OLED. Strong balance sheet, and they are dominating their core business, which is relevant now and in the future. Okay, so good comment there. Yeah, so they have a strong balance sheet, and I am a big fan of their product, okay? I'm a big fan of OLED screens. In fact, I won't even buy a cell phone unless it is an OLED screen. I won't touch LCD. It has to be an OLED or AMOLED. And the reason why I like it so much is because they have true blacks where wherever the black is on the screen, the pixels will actually just completely turn off. Excuse me. And the colors are also very vibrant, and so I really like that. Like, I really love their screen. So whenever I invest in a stock, usually it's a stock that I use their product and I believe in it. And so OLED is a big player in that market. So I really like them a lot for that reason. However, I do have to do more research on them. I don't know much about the company. I don't know much about their stock. But I do have a friend who is invested in them, and his name is Justin, and he has another YouTube channel. You guys might be subscribed to him, but his YouTube channel is called Road to the 2 Comma Club. And it's kind of like a documentary style channel, but it's really interesting. And he has talked about OLED in the past. And so if you have any questions, I would address them to him. And I'll have a link for his channel in the description below in case you want to ask him more about this particular stock. But I need to do more research, to be honest. Okay, next question here is from Wow Killful. and he asks, what is your opinion on T-Mobile? Okay, so another stock that I get requested pretty frequently. Now, I am bullish on T-Mobile, so let's look at their last earnings here. So they reported revenue at a 10% increase year over year, and net income was at 582 million or 67 cents per share versus 228 million or 25 cents per share the year prior in the same quarter. So that's a major increase, and they also smashed estimates. They had estimates of 36 cents and they reported 67 cents. So they did very well. Now, they've also, from like, I've been tracking them a little bit, and they've been improving their balance sheet every quarter too. So that's another thing that I like about them. And their total customer base has also increased by 3.2% year over year. So just looking at the numbers, I really like T-Mobile. I still need to do more research on them, and it is also a product that I do like because I don't have it. I have Cricket, but my friend has T-Mobile and he has the family plan, and he's convinced me to switch over and to get into his family plan. So it's something I'm going to be doing. But from everything that I've heard from T-Mobile, it's a company that I like, and I am bullish on them, but I need to do a little more research. Okay, next up here, Shiny Charlie says, hello, Ale. I'm thinking about investing in Visa. Do you think blockchain technology is a major threat to this company? So hello, Shiny Charlie. And they're asking about Visa and blockchain technology. Okay, let me give a quick disclaimer because I'm not an expert in blockchain technology or cryptocurrencies that use blockchain technology for that matter. I'm not an expert in that stuff. But I do like Visa. One of my closest friends is heavily invested in Visa. And I've talked to him a little bit about blockchain technologies in the past. Now, from what he's told me that Visa has actually acquired a blockchain technology company. I think it was a couple years ago, but they've actually acquired a blockchain technology company, and they've recently been partnering up with another one. So Visa, I feel, is actually adjusting to what's going on. And if you Google it, because I kind of just did a quick Google search, and if you kind of Google it, you'll see answers pop right up. Or if you Google like how is American Express adjusting or how is MasterCard adjusting, you'll see that a lot of them are kind of partnering up with blockchain technology companies and things like that. Now, I guess maybe a benefit would be like speedier transactions, but I don't know how that affects their core business or the way that they operate their business. I'm not sure if that affects their revenue, things like that. I'm just not sure. I'd have to do more research on it. But from what I've heard, from what I've read, I think that Visa is at the very least adjusting to it and could possibly even benefit from it. So, but I'd have to do more research on it. But it's not a major concern to me if I was investing in Visa, but I'm not at the moment. But anyway, I hope that kind of helps a little bit. But anyway, so that's that. Okay, next question here is from Cyberworld7, and they say, I think Snap turned into a Twitter. Okay, they're talking about Snap a little bit, and then they say, I was wondering if you know anything about Aurora Cannabis. Okay, so now when it comes to marijuana stocks, I have to kind of keep my voice down because I don't want like neighbors to hear I'm talking about it. But when it comes to those type of stocks, regardless of political views, because I don't really have any political views on marijuana stock. I don't have like any like pro or con views on it. It's just not something that I pay attention to that much. But regardless of that, it's a product that I don't use because I don't smoke. So it's just something that I don't use. It's a market that I don't really understand. So my opinion, I don't really have much of an opinion on it. Now, as far as Aurora stock goes, I know that when the CEO, because I was tracking it a little bit, because some people actually asked me about it in the past, but when I was tracking it a little bit, the CEO talked about when they IPO'd and they weren't able to meet demand. And when they weren't able to meet demand, their stock kind of suffered a little bit. Now, since then, the CEO has had a lot of plans, the company, I should say, has had a lot of plans for expanding their business and building a lot of new facilities and stuff like that to meet demands. In fact, one facility that they were going to build was one called Aurora Sky, and I haven't checked up on it, I haven't kept up with it, but it was supposed to be like a really massive facility or something like that to help meet them demand. So from what a lot of analysts have been saying is that they are adjusting to meet the demands and that they're a pretty solid long-term play as a stock. So if I was going to invest in it, I would look at it as a long-term investment. And even if you look at like marijuana stocks, all of those stocks are probably better as long-term investments if you were going to invest in them. But I'm not investing in them, so I can't really say. So, but anyway, I don't know. Hopefully that helps somehow. But okay, next up here we have a question from Vaibhav Patel, And they say, did you buy Foot Locker? Now, that's in reference to the video that I made about Foot Locker, because their stock tanked and some people were trying to swing trade it and hoping that it would rebound. I did not invest in Foot Locker. I don't believe in what they're doing, to be honest, because I play a lot of basketball and so I buy basketball shoes, but I always buy them at a local Nike factory outlet because they have really cheap prices. In fact, I bought some Hyper Dunks for only like $30 recently. And Foot Locker, every time I've been to it, is kind of expensive. So I don't really believe in Foot Locker. Plus, with Amazon kind of taking over everything in retail, I'm a little scared of investing in retail stocks. I would like, if I was going to invest in Foot Locker, I'd have to research them more. I'm sure they're probably not a bad stock. I mean, I think someone mentioned that they have like a really good balance sheet, but I would have to research them more. But it's not a stock that I would be touching personally. Okay, next up here we have a question from Robin Hood Wiz, and they ask, almost at 1,000 subs, man. Congrats. What do you think about Microsoft and Alibaba? So thank you for the nice comment. Starting with Microsoft, I think Microsoft is a good stock, long-term stock, safe stock. May not see a lot of success, may not see a lot of gains in the short term, but maybe long term you'll see more success with them. And obviously they're not going anywhere. Now Windows, obviously Windows is not going anywhere as an operating system. They've had a lot of success with Azure in cloud computing and web services and things like that. So Azure is a major success. So they've been transitioning a lot of their focus into Azure, which is definitely a good thing. Now Windows Phone, they completely scrapped that and just got rid of it. And in my opinion, I feel like Microsoft is a little stubborn sometimes, and it's one of the things that I don't like about Microsoft, because I was a Windows Phone user, and I thought that they were good phones, they had good cameras and everything, I really liked them, but there was not enough apps. And so a lot of people were screaming for apps, like they wanted more apps. However, developers weren't willing to develop apps for Windows Phone because they were developing on iOS and Android OS. So all Microsoft really had to do was adjust to that, right? Stop being so damn stubborn and just adjust to that and bring in Android OS and just put a Windows skin over it, just put a Windows Phone skin over it. But they refuse to do that. Don't ask me why, I have no idea why. Maybe there's other reasons that I'm not aware of, but in my opinion, it's kind of a stubborn move on their part, and obviously Windows Phone was a complete failure, and now they've pretty much given up on it. Now, when looking at Xbox, I use Xbox, I've always used Xbox, and they've recently announced Xbox One X. They marketed it as true 4K gaming, and a lot of games are being reported now that they may not be true 4K gaming. There may be like some up resolution taking place, things like that. But the thing that which I don't really care about, the thing that I'm concerned about is that a lot of the games are being reported to run at 4K, but 30 frames per second. And that's not cool, because I hate playing a game at 30 frames per second. Anything less than 60, it just kind of bothers me. I really like playing at least 60 frames per second. I know I can't always get that, but I wish that they would have made more of a push towards that side of gaming instead of pushing for 4K gaming, because I guess 4K is more attractive to people than saying that something is going to be 60 FPS or anything higher than that. But in my opinion, I think they may have had more success if they would have marketed it at a higher FPS, because real gamers, I think, would care more about FPS. Anyway, that's something that we could argue about on another day. We could have like a whole argument about that. But I just feel like they're kind of stubborn as a company. Now, Surface is too expensive in my opinion. Again, a little bit of stubbornness. They released the Surface laptop and it was super expensive. I have a Surface myself, not a Surface laptop, but Surface Book is also really expensive. And I might be mistaken, but I believe in their last earnings, their numbers were actually pretty weak for Surface. Like, I think their numbers actually went down. So I think that they should lower prices for Surface products, and I think that that would help them. So as a company, I just feel like, man, there's some things that like really like bother me about Microsoft, but I can't argue with Azure's performance, and they're really just a safe stock overall. So I have no problem with Microsoft. I think it's a great stock to invest in. No real problem with them. But I'm not touching them, to be honest. Okay, next, and then the other one was Alibaba. Alibaba is a stock that I get requested all the time. It's a huge tech giant. I'm hoping to make an analysis video on them soon. Now, when looking at China's e-commerce, because they started in China, but obviously they're worldwide. Like, they do stuff worldwide. And they're a huge company, like huge market cap. I don't even want to say a number, like 400 billion, I think, market cap. It's like something really, really high. But anyway, China e-commerce has been up around 7 or 8 times as much as it was in 2010, and Alibaba controls 80% of that market. So they completely dominate, and that's just China. Like, they do stuff all around the world. And they're a little different than Amazon. People compare them to Amazon, but they're a little different. They're more for like manufacturers and little businesses and things like that, but obviously consumers too. But I feel like Amazon kind of focuses a little more on consumers. But anyway, that's a whole another issue. I like Alibaba. I really like them, and it's something to think about. It's probably a good stock for the future, but I need to do more research on them, to be completely honest with you guys. Okay, last question here. Vaibhav Patel again says, you should make a video showing how you go about choosing a stock. Like, what do you look for? Okay, so and that's a video I'm going to be putting out pretty soon, but just to give you guys a sample, I look for a company that sells a product that I actually use, a product that I believe in, a company that is in a market that I understand, right? So for example, like I play video games, so a video game company falls right in line with that. My biggest stock is Nintendo, obviously. I also look at their balance sheet, their income statement. I try to look at their numbers as much as possible and try to see if they've been trending upward and what their future is going to look like based on what they've been doing in the past, what they're doing now, and maybe what is projected in the future. Then I also look at management, right? Are they stubborn, or are they willing to adapt, right? Are they like Microsoft, where they're stubborn and they don't really listen to what their customers are asking for? Or are they more willing to adapt, maybe like Visa with blockchain technology? You know, are they more willing to adapt and make changes and things like that? So all things to consider. And anyway, and so that's kind of the things that I look for in a company, but I'll be much more in detail in a video. So anyway, I think that's about it, guys. I hope I didn't miss anything. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I know some of my explanations aren't that great, so I apologize for that, but hopefully you enjoyed it in some way. And I want to say thank you so much for watching. If you are new, please subscribe. If you like the video, please hit the like button because it really helps me out a lot. And if you watch the video all the way through to this very moment in time, then I'm going to say you are... I should have thought about this. I didn't really think about this. You guys are... Maybe you guys are like Alibaba? You guys are like dominating China? What are you guys doing in China, man? We're in America. What are you guys doing over there? But you guys are dominating it. Actually, Alibaba is worldwide, right? So you guys are worldwide. You guys are going to be very dominant. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you all have a wonderful, beautiful day, and that you all take care.